there. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly, our show about tech topics with a local spin on them. My name is Bob from Creation Station, and this we do this every week. This week we have Hadi, who is the acting branch manager out of the Hollandale Library branch. How are you doing today, Hadi?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. How about you?
It has been a good day. I'm enjoying the end of winter very much. I'm not a person who wants anything colder than like 70, so it's been really nice the last 2 days for me. Of course, I know there's other people out there who want something else, but I'm just gonna let them have it for themselves. I'm gonna do. Thank you very much for some of the cool stories that you submitted, Hadi, this week. I'm gonna jump right in and get started on sharing this one here. I'm gonna share my browser so that we can all see this here.
All right.
This first story that came out this week, it's a little bit more complicated than it seems, and it's a little bit easier than it seems too. There's a barcode scanner app on your phone. This was if you're using an Android device. So if you're using iOS, you've been safe from this particular one. But a app that's been out there for years and has had 10 million downloads just happened to have its programming changed on purpose by the developer to start feeding pop-up ads in your browser on your phone.
Mm.
And yeah, what the heck?
That opens up for exploits.
Yeah. I mean, it is something that as you go through and read this article on Wired, they go through and they find out that no, the developers did this on purpose. They hid the fact that they changed their code to throw those pop-ups in, and that kind of hack is not easily detectable by the average person at all, because it's your phone and Google Play Store scans your apps as you download them, so it's clean. Now it turns out maybe they're not. How many apps do you have on your phone there, Hadi?
Maybe like 3 dozen. And
Really?
yeah, but I use Apple.
Okay.
Although I know with the Google Play Store that it has more apps than
Mm-hmm.
like the App Store for Apple. But I know Apple itself has some really stringent rules. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a give and take depending on what your style is. And I know Android has their own app store, but I know it's a lot easier to have open source applications on theirs.
Yeah,
The App Store.
part of that idea of having that open source stuff means that things like this can get in. Um, One of the really great things that I've always told people is take apps off your phone that you don't use. You only having 3 dozen, that's an amazing thing. That's great. I have 88 apps that are in my library but not installed on my phone. I just checked this morning for this. Unfortunately, I do have 193 apps on my phone that update all the time. So I'm going to have to go take a look at some of these. A lot of them are experimental VR and AR apps that I've used them and did them on classes, and I don't need to have them on my phone all the time, especially in this current day where I'm not showing it off to people live anymore. This made me think about, hey, wait a minute, what am I actually doing here?
You know, well, the reason why I like came up to that number because I had like maybe close to like 100 or so apps on my phone, and I was just noticing how just the performance of your phone and just like because of all the background, like
Yeah,
some of them running on the background, which also I occasionally just like close all the apps as possible. But
yeah.
I was looking at like stuff. You could go into your settings under the apps to see like when like the last time you used it, and yeah, there was a lot of apps that like at least more than a month that I viewed that I have
Yeah.
not used.
I had over 100 apps I have not used in over 6 months
Yeah.
because of
It's
they were all things that I used to do when I went out and do trainings and classes, and now I don't need them. But those same kind of hacks leave people open. That story you brought us here. So Cyberpunk and Witcher. Explain what these are first for us, Hadi.
all right. So Cyberpunk and Witcher, they're both games coming out of the video game studio CD Projekt Red, which is a European-based video games developer. And recently, Cyberpunk has been in a lot of hot water for releasing a game prematurely with a lot of bugs. And when they tried to like put those games on like some of the last generation consoles, like the Xbox and the PlayStation 4, the performance was horrible to the point where there was a lot of people wanting to have their money
Yeah.
back,
Yeah, I heard
resulting
they were
in
almost
yeah,
unplayable.
yeah. Um, the PC version actually works is probably the best version out of all of them with the least amount of game-breaking bugs, and that's
Okay.
based off of my personal experience with over 100 hours of gameplay on it so far.
Oh man.
Mhm.
Oh
It was a Christmas gift.
yeah. Nice.
Um, but overall, like the PlayStation Store had to take off Cyberpunk from their store as a result.
Hmm. And then so this hack here is related to that how?
Yeah.
Just disgruntled
So
people about it, or
speculation is a lot. It is like disgruntled people, but it's like basically just a result of like ransomware.
okay.
Um, and then what some people are unscrupulous people are trying to do is sell the source code, you know, to the highest
Mhm.
bidder, and hopefully, like, that's going into particularly like trade secrets with like the coding of like
Yeah, I got you.
particular. Um, now, normally, video game studios, it is up to them if they want to release the source code out to the public.
Hmm.
Normally if like they want to like, for example, would be like Half-Life, yeah, just looking it up right now. So Valve, the example on the side was like Valve like
Hmm.
released the source code for Half-Life 1, which allowed people to, you know, have mods, aka, otherwise known as modifications to their main game.
Yeah.
And what resulted is like you had several games like Team Fortress, Counter Strike, and even those are just two examples of what started off as mods for Half
Hmm.
Life became their own full fledged games.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's it's really amazing how
Mhm.
the software community builds on that kind of stuff
Mhm.
and does and goes. Do you happen to know what platform are these built on? What is CD Projekt Red built? Do they use Unity or do they use, because
Um,
that's our next
their
story I
engine.
want to point out. Yeah, Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that takes us right into this other one of building on a platform and doing that. There's two main platforms for gaming that platforms, and in this by that term we mean platforms to build on to construct your stuff. And these are both also I mentioned the AR and VR stuff that I do a lot of. That's these are the two main drivers for that.
Mhm.
So Unreal Engine just released last night or this morning. They are European, so I'm not quite sure. I don't know what time it came out just like immediately. Just with this is really new. And as you can see on the screen, they're calling it Metahumans,
Mhm.
which brings us to your idea of how the community gets together and builds and makes their own things, because this is all for free. This kind of stuff. And I'm going to show a video on the screen here. I'll throw on the captions and you can see how that's working there.
Yes.
It's almost not quite, but it's really close to being Uncanny Valley kind of thing. It's getting there. It's really,
It's close.
really, yeah.
Okay, so I see that they're using Unreal Engine 4.6.
Okay.
Yeah. And I
And
know
so
like
is that yeah?
um I know last year they were what was it? they unveiled the Unreal Engine 5.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And this is using, and you can go out and download this and use this for free and create your own avatars, own things like this. And you can come and do this in the library too, by the way. We actually have Unreal Engine installed on some of our machines, but it's a free download you can use for anything that you want to try and do. They've done some things. So I'll show one other one from earlier on I want to show is this Andy Serkis, who is the great actor, motion capture person. You know him from his movies, Planet of the Apes, Lord of the Rings, all that kind of stuff. Let's see this version here. And so this version here is just something to show you. The eyes are a little bit off on this one to me and how it looks. This was recorded in 2018.
oh,
And you can see how it's just a little bit fuzzier than some of the newer ones, but it is still just really amazing what they're capable of doing now for this. It's just insane.
and well, when I was reading through that article, like that's just Unreal Engine 4.68,
Yeah.
and I mean, it would be interesting to see like how far it progressed with like Unreal Engine 5, which, like I
Yeah.
said, the expected launch date for Unreal Engine 5 is going to be later this year. They haven't
Oh, I
given a
did not know that.
yeah, yeah, actually I could probably. So it's going to be supporting all existing systems, including next generation PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X.
Nice. Nice. And all the PC stuff and VR things. And yeah, I'm always paying attention to who's building it on the Rift or on the Vive and stuff like that. So that's really interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
I mean,
oh, man. But it's getting really close to being where you can start doing these things, and deep fakes and all this kind of stuff. Now, we talked about this. We had a thing last week or 2 weeks ago. We had a story about AI creating music from scratch and who owns it. This here, who owns a person? And if you can create these
yeah.
people and then marry that with an AI, and now you're creating, and we're just getting into territory we do not need to talk about.
Well, I was gonna say, I remember those posts where people would have a bot read like, 10 seasons of Friends and then come
Mhm.
up with like an episode of Friends, like based off of like, the algorithm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just imagine
And
what you can do and then pair that now with full reproductions of people and who owns the rights to your image, et cetera, et cetera. We're getting to some crazy copyright laws soon in this country. It is just going to be. Well, to get us out of that technical time bomb coming up on us, let's talk about something even older, a long time ago. You might have heard about this fish, the coelith. And
Mhm.
this back in the 70s was the first time somebody brought one of these up in the Indian Ocean. And everybody was amazed when it came up in 1938 because everybody thought this was an extinct animal, that it was a fossil. It's a living fossil, as they were calling it. And then since then, they've actually found a few more of them. And then
Yeah.
because of modern here's the original thing back in 1953 of finding one of these. And then now, because we have modern DNA testing and everything like that, we can actually find out, oh, by the way, yeah, they've just been living all along. There's no such thing as a living fossil anymore. That this is something that they really did go in, and they've just been developing genes and growing along and evolving this entire time for 23 million years.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised that, that we just found out about this all along because according to the NOAA, I think like was it still 80% of our ocean is like not even explored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we know more about the surface of the moon than we know about the deepest parts of the ocean. It's crazy. It is.
yeah, I
It's just
mean,
craziness out there.
so it is perfectly logical to, to come up with that conclusion that we just didn't know until just recently.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where they found these new genes that are part of this that are a modern adaptation that it has, and so it just proves it. The form factor works for it for where it is, and it's just the internals just change a little bit over time, and they're still just chugging along after 10 million years, 15 million years. It's just craziness how again, I think maybe that's my theme to this day is craziness. Um to wrap up, check in the chat real quick for any questions for all the people who are here live. We did get one where they a question about are they replicating real people or creating new characters in that Unreal Engine? And the answer is both. They are recreating real people. In fact, I can go bring one up for you. The Andy Circus. This is his real face, and they've recreated it there. And then this here is Mike Seymour. He is one of the co-founders of graphics researcher, people who develop on video cards and doing those kinds of things. And so he had himself recreated for that, so that he could have a lifelike avatar up on his own VR experiences. But these people up at the top are brand new, never seen before person, based on that. Yeah, no, and nobody knows these people, and that's kind of the story that's here is what's going to happen when you don't know whether it's a real person or not, and do they have and all those things. So it's a really good question out there. So thanks for that. I do want to share, if you're interested in science and you're interested in those kinds of things like we are around here, the library website has some really cool stuff. If you just come, broward.org/library, if you come down to online resources, there is a section for health and science. And when you click there on health and science, you're going to find all sorts of different possibilities here, universal class, etc. This interactive science one here takes you into the Gale Science Database. And there's some fun pieces in here where you really get to go in and dig in and do some stuff. The human anatomy one is a lot of fun, taking apart a skeleton, pushing things around, looking at what they can do. And if you're local down here in Broward, you can come in and print these models. So you can come in and print your own fossils. And these things can come in. You can go print your various different types of dinosaurs, people, modern things. Let me find the virus one for you since everybody has viruses on the mind. There we go. Here's one there for that. And the HIV virus is in there as a possibility to go out and print. You can go do this at a couple of different libraries, Maine Library, Northwest Regional Library, the Pompano Beach Library, all have 3D printers where you can go in and have these printed out for you. And again, always email us, creationstation@broward.org, and we'll get that information out to you.
Yep.
Stop showing that. Thank you very much, Sir Hadi, for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us what's going on down there at the Hollandale Library. What can people find right now?
So right now, as we all know, that tax season is coming up. So right now, we just recently got in some of the booklets and the instructions for to file for taxes next year or this year, and also our computer reservations you can make on your own. We have all the available computer resources. We're getting new books in daily, along with some new DVDs. Yep. We just updated our DVD list just this past week.
Nice. Okay, great. And everything's been going on, and you can still do the curbside to go pick up. So you don't even have to come into the building, set it all up ahead of time, and come on in and see us.
Yep. And finally, every Tuesday at 4 p.m., we have English Cafe virtually over WebEx.
Nice. That is excellent. Let me show off our final thing here just to wrap up for everybody. So thank you very much, Hadi, for being here. Again, Tech Talk Weekly, give us an email if you have anybody that you want to see on the show, or you have a story that you want to see, or just make comments about something that you saw that we've already done. creationstation@broward.org. Everybody, stay safe. We'll see you next week.
Here, let me get you.